How many times have you been handed a chart and it looks like this? In this video, I'm going to show you 10 ways in which you can make your music look cleaner and also easier to read. The first way to make your charts more legible is don't handwrite your charts. I played a gig recently and the sax player gave me a chart to sight read on the gig. Not only was it a concert part, I played trumpet, but also it was handwritten. And so he handed it to me and the chart looked something like this.
Bruh.
No disrespect to the person who wrote this chart. I mean, they're a fantastic sax player and a great composer. It was just so hard to read. An easy fix for this would literally have been to put it in a notation software. So this is what that tune looks like in a notation software. So already the chart looks a lot better, but this is before I even formatted the chart. So there's still so many things that we can do to make this chart look even better and easier to read. And this leads me to point number 2, which is formatting the measures in even bar phrases. So I'm going to show you 2 charts. So you'll notice the music on both of these charts is the exact same. However, one has phrase lengths that are in equal groupings of measures versus the other one where it changes from measure to measure. As a sight reader, it's so much easier to read the one with the measures in equal groupings. I just process it faster. That's something that you can do to easily make your music quicker to sight read. So point 3 of how to make your music easier to read is put your rehearsal marks on the left. So if you're reading music and you see, letter A is right here, letter B, for me, it's easier to locate those rehearsal marks when they're on the left. So I use MuseScore, and all you have to do to put that on the left is go to the measure and hit enter, and then automatically it goes to the next line. So you do that, and then you enter your rehearsal mark, and it's there. That's a really easy fix, and it makes your music so much easier to sight read in such a little amount of time. So imagine you're sight reading a piece of music and you see this. So you begin counting, and then your friend leans over and whispers, "What did you have for breakfast this morning?" And then you think for a second, "Oh, I had pancakes," and so you reply pancakes. And then you look at the music again and you realize you're completely lost. What do? Well, I've got bad news for you. You kind of have no hope. If the composer had written the chart in a better way, you would actually have a chance. So instead of writing one giant 107 bar rest, the composer could have broken it up like this. Notice how the phrases are so much smaller and easier to digest. And also, even if you were to get lost, you have this text that tells you the saxes are coming in here. So when the saxes come in, you realize, okay, I'm here. Doing this simple trick will make your rest so much easier to sight read. Point 5. What is wrong with this? So the correct answer is the half note is in the middle of the bar and you can't see beat 3. One thing that will make your music easier to sight read is if you can see beat 3. So instead of putting a half note, put a quarter note tied to a quarter note. Or instead of putting a dotted quarter note on beat 2, put a quarter note on beat 2 tied to an eighth note that's on beat 3. This is going to make it so much easier for people when they sight read your music. When you're writing a song that goes through a lot of keys or is atonal, please don't use a key signature. So take a song like Giant Steps, for instance. It goes through 3 different keys, but it doesn't stay in one key long enough to say it's in the key of E flat or it's in the key of G. Instead, just don't put a key signature. If you do, it's going to confuse the reader into thinking, oh, this is in the key of C, but then they're going to see a ton of accidentals, and it's not going to sound like it's in the key of C. Also, if you use notation software, be careful, because if you write something in concert and then you create a B flat part or you create an E flat part, oftentimes it automatically gives them a key signature. So in C, concert C, that's D for trumpet, and it'll give them 2 sharps in the key signature. Just make sure you take that out. Otherwise, they're going to think they're reading in the key of D when it really is atonal or it doesn't have one key signature. The next point is for my modern jazz cats out there, and this is kind of a hot take, but don't write anything above 6/4. As in, don't write 7/4, don't write 9/4, please don't write 13/4. Even 13/8 is kind of confusing. But it's so much easier to read a chart when it looks like this versus like this. Even though it's alternating between 4/4 and 3/4, it's so much easier for me to read because I can see where the middle of the bar is quicker. Whereas in 7, you have a note that's in the middle of the bar, but it takes me a while to compute, like, oh, what beat is this on? Oh, it's on beat 5. And then by that point, the measure's already gone by. I think a good rule of thumb for this is don't write anything that's bigger than 6/4. So 5/4 is okay, 4/4 is amazing, but 7/4 is where it starts to get confusing to see what part of the measure has what. You could easily write 4/4 and then 3/4, and it would have the same result, and you could see where the middle of the bar is. It takes a little bit more work on the composer's part to alternate every bar, but on the reader's part, it's so worth it because it's so much easier to read. When the 8th note gets the beat, it's a little bit different because it's easier to digest 7/8 notes versus 7/4 notes. Because 7/8 notes is only one less than 4/4, but 7/4 notes is almost 2 measures long. So 7/8 is okay. I think 9/8 is okay. 12/8 is okay. 11/8. But as soon as you're dealing with a quarter note, like 7/4, 11/4, that's when it gets really confusing, and it just can be simplified so easily by making it 4/4 than 3/4. And if you're working with a bigger time signature like 11 or 13, you can easily write something in 11 where it's 3 bars of 3/4 and then 1 bar of 2/4, and that's so much easier to sight read than one giant bar of 11/4. Point 8. How do you play this? Is it da 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 da, or is it dot 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 dot? Please mark your quarter notes. Only in rare cases, I think, is it okay to not mark your quarter notes. Like if you're working with a professional band and they're playing in the style of Count Basie, and they know that these quarter notes, da da do da, like they know it's going to be short because they've played in that style a lot and they just know the sound of it. However, when you're sight reading something, how are you going to know whether to play it long or to play it short? A good way to err on the safe side is just mark your quarter notes. So we got 2 more points left. Point 9 is something I should have said earlier in the video, but something that makes your music so much easier to sight read is just transpose your chart. 9 times out of 10, the person reading your music is going to be reading it in their respective key. So a trumpet player is going to be reading in B flat. An alto saxophone player is going to be reading in E flat. Please transpose your charts. It's pretty rare that you get somebody that prefers to read concert that's reading on a transposing instrument, unless they're an absolute beast. If you're dealing with somebody who's never read your music, or you're dealing with somebody and you don't know anything about them, just put it in their own key. Myself as a trumpet player, when I see something that's in B flat, I have such a higher success rate when I'm sight reading because most of the music that I have read has been in B flat. Granted, there are people that read a lot of concert charts and sometimes they prefer concert. But if you don't know the musician, I'd say just put it in the key that their instrument plays in. Before I get into the final point in the video, I want to say thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the music that you've been hearing in the background, it's all my original music. And if you want to hear more of it, you can check it out in the description as well as on my YouTube channel. So with that said, let's get into the final point in the video. Point 10. So the final point in this video is actually 2 points in one. The first part of it is don't make your music 10 pages long if it can be made in 5 pages. Obviously you want your music to be spaced out, but not to the point where it's so spaced out where your band is having to turn pages while they're playing. It's just not good. If you can make it shorter, that'll be better. However, if your music is multiple pages long, don't put a DS al coda, because by the time people go back to the DS, they're going to be flipping pages, and then they get there and then they've already missed 4 measures of music. So what would be better is to just put all the music that was at the start. You can just copy and paste it, put it at the end, and it might add like 1 page, but your music is already so long that it doesn't even matter. And it saves the reader the hassle of having to flip back, and then risk missing some music. So we've reached the end of the video. If you learned something new, feel free to drop a like or subscribe. And if you have any thoughts, comments, or suggestions on this video or ideas for future videos, feel free to let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.